Hello there, I'm here with Isaac Christopher, and we are surrounded with a number of books, and I'm very intrigued to know their story, what about them, what inspired you to write them. I've seen books, for instance this here, the law of music. What about music? I think there's no music.
I know, there's everything. Before we talk about music, there's this one that will make you laugh. What's this about?
Law of witchcraft dancing. Very good. What? What about it?
The law of witchcraft, social and Illuminati.
Okay.
You know, many people don't know that we even have a witchcraft act in Uganda.
Do we?
There you go. You know, and you see the bigger thing about witchcraft, it can be extremely legal in a way, because witchcraft, in terms of legal interpretation, is argued as an omniscient threat. Yeah? So people who go for redress in terms of witchcraft go because they know there is this omniscient threat. And God is omniscient, you know that, so we get that word omniscient.
Yeah.
Meaning, man, I don't know, you know, your name is so color, so there's that, I mean, so it can cause provocations, and people end up acting using other means to, and then, you know, to address their challenges.
So there's a bill that was
No.
passed, now it's the law, you're just writing.
No, it was an act that was incorporated way back when we got our laws by way of inception, the inception clause, 1902 order in council. So we've got almost books on everything. There's another interesting one that may impress you as well. This one here. Look at this one. You also, I'm sure you laugh at it.
People are friends of each other. Hey, no, it's what? Why are you praising?
Now you see, so now when people look at this, they're like, man, this guy I think is what? What do they call him? A bombo clat or what? A Rastafarian or stuff like that.
What would you write about me?
You see the question, what would you write about weed? So this is a legal praise of Njaga cannabis and associated medicinal harms. I mean, you see, how only we could appreciate that most of these so-called things that we call harmful plants, especially natural organic plants, have got a better side of it that most of us don't know.
Yeah.
Cannabis, for example, which is in Njaga, or what like you call it, has got a lot of components in it that can help cure over 20 different diseases, including cancer. Cannabis during the time of COVID-19 actually helped a lot.
Yes,
Those of
I heard
you,
about that,
you
yeah.
must have probably heard about that.
Yeah.
And then we've got what we call CAT, what they call Mira. There are economies that are thriving on Mira, and they're raising at about $1 million a day. Countries like Somalia, Kenya, for example. So CAT can grow anywhere where, for example, tea grows. So we are making an advocacy for decriminalization and delegalization, because there is a difference between decriminalization and delegalization. We're saying, okay, anything in excess can be a problem, but if you control it, then it becomes a value. There's another wonderful book that I want you to look at here. Look at this book. These are new areas. Look at this. I don't know what faith you belong to. You're an Anglican, but you see, I am a Christian. I've written about Sharia law and Islamic banking in Uganda.
And this has talked about this last year, mostly.
Yes.
Especially when they launched their Islamic Bank Finance Trust.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have got banks like that are doing very well right now, and I think they've also got good components. They are very careful in terms of profit sharing and you know, profit making. So they follow this. So I've written about this in terms of the law of Islamic banking in Uganda. You are a journalist, and I know this probably will definitely impress you. You just whispered to me about it,
Yeah.
but you may want to talk something about that.
What about this?
That's about journalism,
Yes.
okay, where the freedoms of expression, freedoms of privacy and stuff like that. Yes, these are important books for you because they help you safeguard fundamental principles that the law, the people take for granted.
I think I'm interested in this.
Yes.
Also something here about fashion and design.
There you go, fashion law and design. Here we have got interesting arguments in terms of fashion law and design. You've heard of things like, I mean, beauty pageants. Last time we had Miss Kavi, Miss British and stuff like that. So we make those arguments in terms of what is the law. Even these ideas of what? FACO, they call it FACO, where you go and do your whatever you do, clean up your faces and make your whatever's look the way they want to look. Those are things. What if you went and they did something wrong? What redress would you have? What if you came up with a design in terms of a shirt or perhaps a bra? You know, how do you protect those rights? People like there are these people who make clothes and started in Italy. The name eludes me. I think Gabachani, something like that. They are a trademark that operates in making good clothes and good bags, but they were run into poverty because they didn't have right legal advice, and some Americans bought it up and now they're making a lot of money out of them. Okay, Here is another interesting one. Ubuntu Bulamandelo. This perhaps answers your question. They said, we have these acts, we have these laws. Are you sure they're there? Ubuntu Bulamandelo is an advocacy for the laws that we used to have, which were accepted to us, and which ended up subjugating and actually corrupting or even probably eroding completely our laws that would have ordinarily belonged to us. There's another interesting one here. Where do you come from? Which part of the country do you come from? Kabale. Okay, there are interesting things to do with Buganda here. For example, we call it exhausting the inexhaustible Buganda gospel. No, I'm not a Muganda. I'm a proud Musoga from Buramoji.
Wow.
So, you see, we have this exhausting the inexhaustible Buganda gospel, and when people look at it, like, wait a minute, I think the guy is insulting the Buganda people. No, I'm not insulting the Buganda people. I'm only reminding them of what their great-grandfathers may have done wrong in as far as 1900. Because when they appended their signature to that, they actually lost their identity and gave up this idea of Shiva Chabuganda Chabada. Buganda was formed of 3 counties. Now it's about 20. They had to do that, but now the question is, can we readdress those problems? Can Buganda gain its independence? Buganda is a state that was actually 700 years old, much older than Uganda. So you make those arguments and say, there's another, before you even go to Buganda, let's talk about Busoga there. Here is Busoga, because I'm a proud Busoga, who we call fine pencils in God's hands. So now proud Busoga is here. This book here talks about, this book is 100-year-old. It was written by my grandfather called YK Lubogo. YK was the first black mayor of Jinja, and also a CBE, commander of the British Empire, knighted by the king. So this book speaks about what the people of Busoga. I came across this book when one individual who had it in a pamphlet, it was enlisted as what they call an endangered book. And then, lo and behold, I said, let me borrow it. He gave it to me. And it was listed on the internet as an endangered book. There was only one copy in the world. It was in Mackay University Library. So I said, wait a minute, how about if we brought this book back into resonance? He said, I'm going to burn this book, because if I don't burn it, there are things, secrets that the people of Busoga will get to know, and they'll begin doing them. I said, I think that's what the people need to know. So when you read that book, you know everything about the Busoga people. What else do you want? There is this one here. This is probably the biggest book in the world, because it comes in volumes. There are actually 4 volumes with a very big part. It's called Objection, My Lord. As we speak today, we are coming up with other versions called I Shall Pray and Much of Blood. But this is the biggest book. Perhaps you will even find it in one of these days in Guinness Book of Records as one of the biggest books in jurisprudence. When you call this book, for example, this only one is called Litigation Lingo. It has every document you will ever need. You, for example, want to write a contract, you want to write a will, you want to hire someone, you want to change, anything you want to do is written in this. So I've made it very simple for you. We have it even on soft copy. When you go to lubogo.org or sugenesulapp.com, you will find this there as well. This is another interesting one. I'm sure those of you who like money, cryptocurrency and cryptology in Uganda. This is another interesting subject that we're talking about today. This is where, by the way, some of the youngest billionaires in the world today deal in cryptocurrency as we speak. And this is the future of tomorrow, whether you like it or not. Cryptocurrency is the future, digital money is the future of tomorrow. So the question is, how is Uganda ready to engage in the things like cryptocurrency and cryptology? When you read it, it will give you a good substantive.
We have a problem with this. One of our colleagues might want this.
Cryptocurrency and cryptology.
Yeah.
Yes, then we have got this guy here called the Executive Constitutional Mandate. If you want to ever know about the constitutional system of Uganda and how far Uganda has come, this is the book to read. This captures the history of Uganda from way back before the white man comes up to today. And the problems that most people don't talk about the Museveni era, but here we argue Museveni and the likes, we argue in terms of the things to do with the third Kabaka crisis. You know about the third Kabaka crisis? The Kayunga saga, the debacle, the debacle that happened, the coffin cake saga, remember? The coffin cake saga, remember? What happened during that time? Everything is there. And the burning of the Masiro. And then, do you know that actually people don't even know that there were more Muslim matters in Amugongo than actually Christians and Protestants combined?
What?
Yes, so all that is written here. Do you know that Sekabaka Mutesa refused to be circumcised? Because at that time when they were circumcising, they were using hard reeds. Okay, and only few people, Muslims agreed, and therefore they were defaming him and looking and mocking him. That's why God banned them and took them to Lubogo, because there were 3 sites in Uganda there where they used to actually punish people, like the likes of Golgotha in the Bible. So many people don't know the history. Do you know that actually the Kabaka was sued one time for taking another man's wife? You know,
Which Kabaka?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go. Read the book. Read the book. And he actually lost the case because you see this argument that all the women belong to what? To the Kabaka. That ideology was actually brought into court one day. So this is not an attack on the good people of Uganda, but it is history in the making. Okay, then we have got another one here. There is this one here. Because of jurisprudence, where we are arguing in terms of people who have made history as far as jurisprudence is concerned in Uganda. We have people like Professor Lokonyango, Professor Kanyehaba, Professor Tash Tandon, Professor Ali Mazrui, different people here. These are what we call legal journalists who have actually changed the legal affairs in terms of contributions and the like. There's another interesting one there, cyber law, which I think will be interesting as well, because cyber law also becomes a question of debate. Because today, as we speak, this is where we are going, whether we like it or not. How do we engage in terms of cyber? How we deal in terms of issues to do with electronic signatures, for example, and stuff like that. So this is another interesting book. So we have all books, sports and the law. Sustainable environmental law. We just talked about clean energy, for example, things to do with how do you protect ozone laying and stuff like that. This is another important aspect. There's another one that is extremely important, the law forensics. You know, how many times have we seen generals killed in this country? By poison, by shotguns, and you know what we do? We go to Scotland Yard in England, bring them here and tell them do the investigation and they never give us results. They created never results. This is an answer to all those issues. It talks about things to do with DNA, for example. How do you protect the scene? How do you collect saliva? How even tongues, or for example, even fingerprints, all those aspects. So this has to do with that. Then here is another answer to some of the challenges that you, my friend, go through a lot, even as you collect news. Look at this. This is demystifying the order from above. People come and say, order from what? Above. Can you explain to us what is the implication of order from above? Is it even legal for you to say, this is an order from above? We argue in terms of what they call the Posse Comitatus Act. Do you even know what the Posse Comitatus Act is? Are there instances where, don't you see sometimes when you actually see red-belted army people being put on the streets of Kampala during times of insurgencies or even elections? That is not permissible in law. You know, even when you look at some of these books, for example here, tear gas is listed as as an element that is not supposed to be used during times of war. The formula for tear gas, but how many times do you on civilian entities today? So these are questions that we answer when it comes to some of those issues. There's another there that has to do with the law of malpractice. How do you sue your attorney? How do you sue your lawyer if he has misled you? How do you sue your medical doctor if they have let you down? How do you sue your religious leader, the Gibraltarians understand? You know, there are people. Yes, these are witchcraft. For example, how do you sue a witch doctor who has actually Mama Fina and the likes who have let you down? You know, I know there's a colleague of mine, a university graduate by the way, who was told to bring 50 million, take it to Musawara, they put it in a basket, pour the milk there and burnt it. And then something came out of the water and said, go home, don't open the cupboard, just be there for a week, you will find 1 billion shillings there. The poor man went for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, he's now in Rosita, he went bazaar. These are questions that we answer. How do you suicide people who have taken advantage of you? The answer is here, my friend.
I think most Ugandans are ignorant about the law with all this I'm seeing.
And ignorance and excuse that. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. There's another interesting one there called intelligent design. Okay. Intelligent design has to do with a component to do with whether or not did Africa have what? God. We argue this ideology that, you know what, God is perhaps a foreign entity. But did we have gods? Some of you have probably read about things that books like Ezeulu. Ezeulu comes from one of those books, which name has eluded me. But intelligent design has to do with aspects to know that regardless of whatever religion or affirmation we come from, we probably all have to ascribe to one bigger entity in terms of intelligent design. There is an argument that after the creator of the universe descended and created the earth, he actually went back and became oblivious. And now you cannot see him anymore. He did his part and said, so we are making arguments in terms of conversion of religions rather than divergence of religions. There's a guy called Dr. Aslam who wrote a book. He actually has a degree in the New Testament, master's in the New Testament, and a PhD in the New Testament. And he's a Muslim. And he wrote a book called Jesus of Nazareth, the Zealot. And he says, I don't disagree that Jesus exists. I know Jesus from the Bible. I believe he's the prophet. But I choose Islam because Islam gives me better metaphors in terms of reaching to God. So my argument in terms of intelligent design is that there is a higher power, but we're talking about convergence of religions rather than divergence of religions. Okay. This one is another interesting. This one I call a will. This is the will I wrote. It's called Twitter is to manage and train the eternal law. But this is the will that I said told my children that the day I'm no longer existing, consider this your will. So when you read books, it will give you a lot of practical information of how to live today and tomorrow. So this is a very important book for everyone to read. Psychology. This is something we talk about. Can you imagine in jurisprudence and even in law school, it's only lawyers that don't study psychology. What a disgrace. What a shame. So we are thinking that the psychology of the law should be incorporated in the law of jurisprudence of this country so that lawyers can be taught, because everything about law is about what? Psychology. So is it fair that we get to know about psychology? This one is what they call conscious objector. This guy is here is called animus optimum legalis, who thrives under what they call animus opibisci parati to become what they call magnum opus in a sui generis generation. I hope you have understood something.
What did you just say?
In short, what I said, this is a pontiff and an erudite gigantum. Have you understood what I said? I can say it more. You see, the privilege that we have, it's only lawyers what they call bragging rights. Lawyers have what they call bragging rights, and they're the only learned people. The others are all unlearned. But anyway, it's about works of Isaac Christopher Lubogo, what he has done over the years, and we have been able to do over 30 books. Even as we speak now, we're writing another book, and we believe that all this, we're writing on one on what they call special needs, people who are special needs. You have seen children who are born with disabilities, and how do you give them access in terms of, we're writing one on land law, in terms of the future, of the law. So most of the things we're doing, these are groundbreaking books. These are not books of today, they are books of tomorrow. And like this one, we have got critics who critique us left, right, and center. Your books are not reviewed. We tell them no problem. Please go ahead and review. Professor Kanyamba wrote a book, and one of the professors actually reviewed this book and said, I have this review about the book, critiquing it, about 15 pages. They say, thank you for your review, but please go ahead and write something better than I have done. And that will be of value. So those of you who critique, we take your criticism with a lot of diligence. We appreciate the positive criticism, and we also know there are those who are just interested in throwing and stuff like that. But again, we do it for the betterment of the society that we live in. There is the law of disability in Uganda there, where we talk about how to protect the lives of disabled people, things to do with freedom of the law, the law of penology and criminology, and then this one has to do with the art of oratory. You cannot believe it that even lawyers, in spite of the fact that they're meant to be like I think it was the great one of the great judges of the time, Lord Denning, who said that a lawyer's tool is his word and pen. This is the art of oratory, and this will give you the ability to know how to use your tool and giftings as a lawyer, so that you can be able to affect nations. You know, one time Hitler said in his book Mein Kampf that I use reason for the few and reserve emotions for the many. We don't want you people to be held up with that kind of reasoning. We want you to understand, read this book, so that you can be able to change your lives and prepare yourself for tomorrow. So these are some of the works that the hand of God has enabled us to do. And you can all find these books at lubogo.org or suegeneslaw.com, and even on Amazon and all across major bookstores. Yes, they're on Amazon and all across the world. Even in the US Congress Library, all these books have been taken there, and they are being taken like hotcakes.
Wow.
Yes. God bless you and thank you for your time.
You too.
I welcome you to becoming a lawyer one of these days. So you become what they call a learned friend.
I am learned now. I'm learned now. Thank you.
Okay.
Great work here.
Thank you.